just so tickled that they're, doing what they're doing, but they don't pay my bills. Like they don't pay my mortgage for me now that they're rich, and they give me work just like they used to give me work, but there's no like, you're my homie club and like now you only get it. Like they now have opportunities to work with the best of the best. So why not do that? Like there's such a misunderstanding of, I always say like, I want my friends to get famous or rich because that then gives me, and hopefully they're happy and that gives me a better chance of continually to elevate, surround myself with people that are successful. But you can get stuck in Nashville so easily by just like going out to the Crying Wolf or different bars and spending $50 a night, shooting the shit with people, and you never get anything done. And then you've spent $200, on old fashions and you have no work, and at night everybody's rich and everybody's famous. At night it's like, oh yeah, I'm so busy, man. Yeah, it's great. It's going well. And the next day they're like, hey, looking for work. And you're like, what? Or, they're going to send you something and they never send it. And so I basically, after the first couple of years of being here, learned that I can no longer associate myself with the crowd that's just like spinning their wheels like every night. Like I need to find the people in the industry that actually do this for a living. How do they do it? What do they do? What are their routines like? Who do they talk to? Where do they eat? What do they do? I became obsessed with just figuring out how are people actually doing this,
Right, it's like the sustainability thing you were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah. So, a lot of my story too, like I just keep talking, but 4 years into
That's cool, man. I love what you're saying.
Okay, cool. Like 4 years into Nashville, well, it'll be like 3 years in Nashville, I hit a freaking brick wall, like exhaustion. I'd been on the grind hustle thing, like 24/7, always working, always grinding, making sure everybody knows who I am. What am I doing? I was obsessed with success and money and like, oh, we're doing it. Like we're making money and here we go. And I'm going to pay my bills and I got more than I need. And I just was so stressed. I didn't know what to do. When I started making the money, I always thought I wanted or needed, which was a made up number based on how I was raised. Like I just created this number one day. I was like, I need to make this money. If I can make this money, I'm awesome or something. It was like it's so silly. But it was just one of those things where when I started making that per year, I had this existential crisis of, oh my gosh, is this what I'm doing for the rest of my life now in this, one single room mastering suite, all alone? I've neglected my friends the last 3 years, neglected my wife to like make this money and buy this gear, and I pushed so hard and I'm making this money, and I just looked down at my gear and my desk, like, what am I doing? I'm best friends with like my Manly Massive Passive. Like I talk to it more than my best friend, who I moved here to be friends with. Like these walls know more about me now than, my family and my wife. And I had a full blown like mental breakdown. Like it was I was at CMA Fest, which is a country music festival in the summer. And I was watching all my buddies play, and it was like 9 a.m. and it was super hot out, as Nashville summer is, which is not always fun. And I was probably hungover and also hyped up on caffeine, which was just like my coping mechanism for the amount of stress I was doing. And I just remember standing in a crowd of people, and I basically had like this existential panic attack in the middle of a crowd. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? Why am I here? What am I doing? I got to get out of here. I'm super hot, super sweaty. And I just like ran. Wow. I looked at my buddy and I was like, hey, I don't feel so good. He's like, all right, cool. And that was like kind of it. And I was like, all right, I got to get out of here. So I like ran out of this crowd of people, it was like the riverfront venue. And I'm laughing about it now. 4 years ago, this was terrifying. If anybody who's ever dealt with panic disorder or anything like that, it's not a fun place to be. I didn't even know what was happening. I thought I was having a heart attack. I like ran up this hill to get out of this venue, and then I ran into like Vanderbilt Medical, which is like Vanderbilt's like the medical community here in town, the college, and they have hospitals. And I was just like, I don't feel good. And the guy's like, are you on drugs or something? I was like, no, like I just had coffee all morning. He's like, you're probably dehydrated. And I was like sunburnt to a crisp too. So anyway, he gave me a bottle of water. I like started climbing up this This is like steep hill up downtown to get out of the people and to get like just out of the crowd to sit down. And I just like crawled myself up 4 blocks, and I'm sure I looked like a crazy person to everyone. And I was sweating and hot. And I called my wife and I was like, I think I'm dying. And she's like, you're being dramatic as always. So I was like, okay, I'll just sit here. And I just sat there, and I just remember thinking like, wow, if this is it, if this is everything I ever wanted in life, and if I have to keep going at this rate, like working 24/7 to make this money, but then to just live in basically a prison cell all day, I can't do this anymore, you know? And it was a big moment for me. And I ended up going to therapy for like a year, which was wonderful. I stopped drinking. I changed my whole lifestyle, started eating healthier. I drink now again. I stopped drinking coffee. And once again, super long story short, it's like I flipped my whole life around, and I started doing that. Okay, what do people do who are super successful, who are sustainable and happy? Happiness was my main thing. I was not happy. I hated my life. I had money. I had some records that people knew. My mom finally knew some of the artists I was working with. So I was like, all right, I'm doing this thing. And I was just miserable. And I was, you know, I was depressed. I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and my therapist was amazing. And he just listened to me like go on and was like, this all sounds very normal. Like, move your whole life. You're super stressed. You have a terrible like routine. You don't have routine. You're drinking too much at night. Then you're trying to like get over it by pumping yourself full of caffeine. You know, you work like shitty hours and you feel like you're neglecting all your important relationships. So this is all very normal. And when I heard that, I was just like, oh, okay. So I'm not like legitimately losing my shit. He's like, no. He's like, this is very normal. People come in. This is why you go to therapy. Like, I have tools and expertise, just like with mastering. I'm like, he was like, this is normal. Like, I went to school for this, taught people for, 15 years how to equip and be healthy and have a healthy relationship with these things, so you can actually enjoy the work, enjoy the success, enjoy the failure, enjoy the process. And I spent a year in therapy, and it was wonderful, and it changed my life. And that's really, I spent a whole year just directing my life. And I got a routine, started getting up, early, because that was a big thing that successful people seem to do that were happy, and journaling and meditating, gratitude. I got huge into, still am, into all of kind of meditation and mystic stuff and manifestation, kind of all the, it sounds kind of, when I first started, it sounded very woo-woo, but it's really just about, for me, manifestation and mystic stuff, it's really about trusting that this thing we're part of, the universe, and people that you can let go and know, it's like the Alcohol Anonymous program. It's like you're not in control of really anything outside of how you react to things. And I grew up, very Christian conservative, and so I grew up with very judgmental view of life, lots of shame, lots of guilt, lots of, turn or burn, like just kind of this view of life that I was like, you know what? This was, I learned a ton of things. This was semi-helpful, but this doesn't fit into my life anymore. The music industry I'm in, the things I've seen, I've traveled, I've been a part of different cultures and religions and things. And really, for me, it was just like, I got to expand my worldview here. There's more to life than what I was taught in a small, farm town, basically, in Illinois. And so that began like my huge, figuring out, what am I doing here? And how can I, take care of myself first, so then I can better serve everyone else? And that became my obsession, and still is. How can I take care of myself first better, equip myself better so that I'm happy, so then I can serve my clients better, my wife, my friends, be a better husband. And that's been the last 4 years, is like, basically just taking care of myself and finally asking myself, like, what am I doing here? Like, what do I like doing? I like mastering still. Absolutely. Love it. Adore it. What can we do to equip other people who want to learn to master? Let's do a podcast. Let's blog. And so I've, the transition from doing everything to just one thing is something I basically started doing on a daily basis. Like I was trying to please everyone, which led me to pleasing no one, of course, which is very...
Are you an oldest child?
I'm a youngest child.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm an oldest child, and I definitely feel that very much like trying to please people.
Yes,
and like
it's very common
and perfectionistic and
Yes.
all those things. You know what I mean? Like,
I think I'm that way.
interesting.
Was perfectionist for a long time because I was trying to prove something to people. Like I mean, I had the typical, well, maybe not typical, but I had a lot of people who were like, no, music, like you can't do this. You're not going to make it, man. Like and I'm that person who used it as a fire. Like, oh man, I'm going to show you, like, I'm going to work with the artists you like, give me 10 years. I'll be kicking like ass. And that all is like an ego pride thing, which leaves you unfulfilled once you hit that. You make the money or you get the, number one on Billboard, or it's like these things. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I love your story because it's like you had one vision of success.
Yeah.
And you're like, F everything else. I'm going to get this. Yes. I'm going to get the success.
Right.
And then you attained it. And then once you're at that top of the mountain, you realize it's not the top of the mountain. It's just like you got to that moment.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what is there after this?
Yeah, it was like getting to base camp when I hit my goals, or like, and these were all like fake goals. Like I created these in my head for my ego.
Right. And you have, Yeah. It's like, what is success for you?
Right.
And you just like, oh, this is success. But then you realize, wait a minute, this success is not actually success. It's just like, it's just what I was told I should be my success.
Exactly. Which is, once again, if anything I could say on this podcast, it's like my story is not unique. You've got actors and famous people and even non-famous people who have gone through the same thing of, oh, I wanted to do this. I did this. It's kind of fun. Like, did it. Cool. Making money, whatever that means. Everybody defines that differently, success differently. And then you're like, well, this didn't do much for me outside of like maybe 24 hours of feeling really good. And, I remember like posting on Instagram early on, like first label gigs or something where I'm like, oh, I'm doing a label gig. Like, this is like something I can, put out and brag about essentially now. You put on Instagram, you get like 30 likes or something, and then no one gives a crap. Like it's, then the next hour, someone's like, here's a puppy dancing. And you're like, oh, that's way more popular than my post about this label thing. And it's like, you quickly learn, at least for me, I had to quickly learn that my worth is not found in anything, any amount of money, any record, any credit, any award, anything I'm a part of. I've always been enough. I always am enough. And I'm already like a whole human, and that's just who I am. You could take it all away now and I would grieve it for sure, but I would be fine. And that's like a place of health that I didn't know was some place you probably would want to get to or you'd feel or need to feel, but it's just been such an interesting journey. I mean, my story of 10 years, it's like, within all this, the amount of people who have helped me get to where I am, this isn't something I did on my own, like not at all. Like so many of my big breaks, like I said, are like the number 2 call, or like so-and-so knows somebody who babysits for someone and they're just like, here, you can do this. And then I do a decent job with it and then they hire me again. And it's just like the most beautiful journey that I've been a part of. And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. And, even talking to you, like if you would have told 10-year-old Sam, like, hey, I know you like music, and like 20 years from now, you're going to be on a podcast where a guy, I guess, cares about what you think, which is amazing. Like, you just can't predict this stuff. And to even be here talking to you, when you hit me up, it's like, of course, I would love to have a conversation with you. Like, let's talk about life and what we're doing. And wow. This is like a complete gift to be here with you for this, hour or two or however long we talk. But
yeah.
But it's just beautiful. I mean, that's a huge part of my story now is just gratitude and understanding that, there's no amount of records that will fulfill me and the work will keep going. When I die or in 10, 20 years, some kid just like me is going to come up and take all my clients and that'll be great. I'll say, thank you. I'd like to retire now. Like, I'd like to go make pizza. Please take these clients. I'm done. I've had fun. This has been great. Now let me go make pizza in Florida somewhere hot and retire. Like, that's why I love pizza. I love making pizza. So I've always told my wife, like, one day I make pizza on a very
You got like the Chicago deep dish vibe, or
well,
not really?
no, I do. I'm obsessed with like Italian, like Neapolitan.
Oh, like the margarita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like